stream is going to be today. And what I mean by that is YouTube has been an absolute not great today. I've struggled to get live today, so let's see how we get on. So look, this is the United Devil channel with me, JB. I'm going to have to change my specs because these are bugging me. First thing to say is, look, get into this amazing community, get into the chat. This is the best chat on this platform. Absolutely fantastic. Obviously, be respectful to the community, be respectful to yourselves, be respectful to me. Otherwise, the ban hammer comes out and you will get banned. And we are we're not a fan of the ban hammer, but people do get itchy ban hammer fingers, and you know, so you've been warned. Second of all, look, I'm not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your chats. So look, if you think you're going to come on here, say some silly stuff without getting called out by the community, you've been warned. We don't mind banter. Absolutely do not mind banter at all. As long as it's done with respect, then we don't really care. You know, so look into this community, and you will be rewarded. So I forgot to say, JB, look, nobody, absolute legend. Thank you so much. I will be doing eventually some members only content and some members only chats and that sort of stuff. I think going forward, I will do some members only, like the chat now, because yeah, you got to subscribe to basically get into the chat, and it's only fair on you amazing people. So Scott is in the house. Yes, JB, hope you're doing extremely well. Wilcox just needs to fuck off at this point. It wasn't a good idea getting an ex-City reject to come into the club. Nobody, legend, says, good afternoon, JB. I may pop in today, although I'm knackered. Worked a night shift last night, got home at 7:30. I'm working again tonight. God help me. I've got to bring the money home. Look, massive respect. Look, you know, I appreciate it. Look, you know, it is not a mandatory thing to come on here, and look, you know, you're still a legend even if you're not on every single stream. So, you know, look, absolute legendary status. I really have to change my name on YouTube. My name's Sky. Don't know why I went to nobody. I actually got some jelly tots last night. Legend. Look, absolutely fantastic. So, look, I think as the thumbnail says today, you know, I wish I could bring you more positivity, right? YouTube, by the way, is just being an absolute dick. I wish I could bring you more positive news, and you know, as some people said last night, you know, we just got to get behind the team. You know, no. This team has let down coaches game after game. But I think the issue is Wilcox. Wilcox at the moment, rightly so, is getting a lot of the blame because, as you said, he is the manager behind the scenes. So he unfortunately does have to take a lot of the responsibility. So, you know, this is on him. You know, he's very comfortable behind the scenes to make out he is the big deal. So we're going to get through some of the stuff. Has Carrick called out Wilcox? I don't think he has. I don't think he has at all. Unless Carrick is got the backing of some higher up people, and this is the way that they want to get out. He's wearing green. I don't know what's wrong with green. You tell me what's Celtic connection, I guess. So let's get on to what he said. I'll tell you the source. Some higher up bums, says Mark Harris. Mark Harris, legend of this chat. I'll get on to Jason Wilcox. Look, Jason Wilcox is becoming a problem. Says, why doesn't MU bring former players in the management, club administration? I mean, or are they any now? You know, look, and again, get in your opinions on this, because, you know, I will read your opinions if I sort of come back on them. It's not because I'm calling your opinions out. I need to stress that. It's just because I think you spark a good point. Now, look, you guys may know where I'm going to go with this one. Why doesn't MU bring in former players? I'm unsubscribing due to the colour choice. Sorry, Sir Jackie. Apologise. I should tell you for why it is. And look, I am going to do this stupid voice. Friends, football friends, former player friends, Rio Ferdinand friend, Wayne Rooney friend, Michael Carrick friends, friends. It's basically that. It is basically that. Look, don't apologise. It's basically friends. It is friends. It's Friends FC. It is absolute Friends FC. It is Michael Carrick, Friends FC. You know, Wayne Rooney wants to come back, Friends FC. Barada was at City. Wilcox was at City, Friends FC. You know, this is Friends FC club. And look, you know, you've got some opinions, and people do think that bringing in ex-players is going to solve the problem. Ollie, Friends FC. Johnny Evans, Friends FC. Fletcher, Friends FC. Binion, who's now behind the scenes, and yes, I know he was working there, Friends FC. Woodgate, Friends FC. Henderson is in the chat. It's great to finally be here. I love your opening lines as well, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. So it's Friends FC. Friends FC. So let's get into what the Athletic says, and this is this just caps it off for me. So Wilcox, Willie Wilcox. Look, just an absolute maniac right now. He is throwing this team under the bus, and whether or not we think that's right, look, I can't stand these players, right? But everybody has to take their fair blame, right? Everybody has to. Wilcox, Barada, what we've got to realise at this club, it's Friends FC and the blame shifting, right? This is blame shifting extraordinaire. This is Amarin is basically the fall guy for everything. Then it's the players. Look, Amarin is the fall guy for the players. Amarin is the fall guy for the ineptitude behind the scenes. He is the ultimate fall guy. Now, look, players, I can't stand these players. I'll say this time and time again. I can't stand these players. I absolutely despise these players. Not all of them. There are some really, really bright sparks in this team, but the majority of this team, they've sacked another manager. I can't stand these players. However, it is not just on these players. You know, look, I'm going to go into a little bit of defence mode of the players on the basis that this is not all down to them. These players don't sign the contracts. These players don't sign themselves. You know, these players, Wilcox, the manager behind the scenes, is apparently not forcing these players in, but he is recommending. So Wilcox is throwing this team under the bus, and Carrick, he's already throwing him like under the bus. Now, whatever I think of that appointment, Friends FC, Carrick is, look, it doesn't matter who it is. So look, Carrick, am I going to support him? Of course I am. You know, but even the appointment of a Carrick, you know, he's bringing in a Holland, and we will go on about it's Steve Holland, isn't it? I'll go on about that appointment as well, because we know what's coming. So look, Wilcox has basically said that that Carrick needs to make Champions League. Henderson says that the boardroom clowns will do the same to Carrick and whoever else comes after. Exactly. I like Ahmed in Boma. I think Shesko can, if he can keep going, he'll be all right. I don't know any of the rest of them. Carrick will be a yes man. What Jim and Wilcox will love. Exactly that. So look, let's not get this confused, right? Carrick is a yes man. Carrick is a interim coach. Whatever Ineos and the Glazers' master plan is, Wilcox is master plan. Don't rule anything out, okay? But Carrick. Okay, so Wilcox has told Carrick he needs to get a top four while he's an interim coach, right? My first observation and comment on that is why? Like, you're bringing him in. You're forced to bring him in. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want Carrick to do. Like that in an ideal world is you're already setting a precedent. You're already setting him up to fail. Carrick is going to come into the squad. This squad has let people down time and time again. Nobody said, my son said that Carrick looks like a hard man. I don't know if I believe that. Well, Everton, you'll never shone so brightly. Welcome, you never shone so brightly. Hope you're doing extremely well. Carrick has asked for some new toilet paper. I reckon he's asked for some pens. Carrick not allowed to sign players. And Ryan, this is what I've been saying all season as well. But look, Wilcox has set a precedent on Carrick already, which is ridiculous, to make a Champions League. Now, many of you keep saying that we'll finish in the top 5. I know people like Scott, and Scott, I'm not calling you out on this. I love that. I love the optimism, right? I've been saying we're going to finish 8th or 10th all season, whether it was Amrin, whether it was Ten Hag, whether it's Carrick, whether it's a Fletcher. And that's true. What has Wilcox ever done? And this guy now is under pressure. The reason why he's putting pressure on this team is because he is getting pressure himself. This is a guy this is the guy that is now under the microscope. There is nowhere for him to hide. He's had to crawl from underneath his rock where he feels that he's a manager behind the scenes. He now has to. That rock has been removed, and like an ant, like a slug, he's visible. So what he's doing now, he's trying to build up layers and layers of protection. So look, he can say he told Carrick to get top 4. It's not his fault. He's not providing a platform. As we said there, I've been saying on this channel for a long, long time, he's not going to make the signings. He may make one loan or cheap signing, but that's not going to fix the problem. This team, and let's remove the AFCON here, as many people won't. We have been playing crap all season. Amrin wanted different players. He was promised a Quenda. He was promised a Gyökeres. He was promised some other players. And in this window, Jason Wilcox directly signed these players. Amrin didn't sign these players. Amrin didn't. Cunha was agreed before he came. So Cunha was agreed before Amrin came. Cunha was agreed pre-season. So Cunha was agreed pre-season. So Amrin, was already here. But that deal was already agreed. That deal was agreed when he was here. The March before, Cunha expressed an interest in coming. Cunha came. That was happening whether Amrin wanted that too or not. In Boomer, again, was a versatile club player. Shesko, he didn't want Shesko. He wanted a Watkins. So Amrin didn't get his players. Now, there were 3 players signed. When we needed a midfielder, we needed 2 midfielders. We needed a back 4 player, some wing backs. So what was this coach supposed to do? Sir Jim thinks that this team can finish in the top 4, and this is what we are. We're blinded by these people who are trying to put their own agenda and their own thoughts, because basically what they're trying to do is, if they say this team can finish 4th or 5th, then they can hide behind it. They can say that we provided the players. Wilcox, literally, as Amrin was sacked, went into the training ground and said that we provided Amrin what he asked for. So the fact that Wilcox is already placing 4th or 5th on this coach is absolutely incredulous. It's absolutely disgusting and despicable that this unknown quantity, this guy who's got no experience, is able to make decisions in this club, and he is sinking that ships. Now, he's also basically saying again that the squad needs to demonstrate why they want to be here. demonstrate that they are good enough. Look, this team has been crap all season. Forest, the Everton, Grimsby, Fulham game before, Brentford, Bournemouth. I could go on and on and on and on. Why suddenly is this team going to push for a top 4? If by some miracle we get top 4 or 5 is still possible, whether I agree with it or not. It is still possible. So why would you write a season off? Why would you write a season off? These people are experts. These people are football experts. As I've said before, if you bring some of that money forward to buy the players that you need now, you'll get into the Champions League. That's £100 million straight off. More sponsorship, more home games, the better players you can buy. The deeper you go into the competitions, you won't get knocked out by Grimsby. You won't get knocked out in the third round. You have more and more games. It is boom or bust. This is why I don't understand why you're 3 points behind and you think a team that's been poor all season is going to suddenly change. If it was all laid bare. It was all laid bare in the Burnley match, the Brighton match. If you want to know about this team, everything is all there for you to know about this team. So what is Carrick supposed to do? Now, Wilcox, in all his wisdom, is not prepared to sanction players. The only way they will sanction players is if there is an uproar. One of the things that I don't get here, and look, I've promoted the protests on here. Now, the protests are planned for February the 1st. Why? The transfer window has closed at that point. Why aren't we protesting now? Why do the 1958? Why do the protest group have to wait until after the transfer window has closed? We need pressure now. We need pressure now, pressure on this board now, because the only way they're going to put the hand in their pocket is if games are called off, if there's a presence. But I don't understand why the protest. Is it because, and I'm starting to question this myself, is it because there's a deal going on here? Is this, you almost agree? Are these groups agreeing behind the scenes that they won't do it until after the event because these groups need to basically placate the fans? I don't get why the protest groups are not protesting now. There is no reason. So that's one of the things to say. So again, Jason Wilcox again. So after the Brighton game, that was one of the biggest shambles all season. He met with the squad, right? So he met with the squad and basically said to them, "It's crucial that we get is the interim coach is really important. We must get the right interim coach to try to get us to 4th or 5th place." I mean, I can't even express to you how ludicrous that statement is. He's talking about an interim manager. It's not important to get an interim manager. It's important to get a fucking manager. Wilcox, what are you doing? What are you doing going to the squad and telling them we need an interim coach? It is absolutely unbelievable. It's absolutely short-minded. I guarantee you, Madrid will go and get a coach. If there literally is no coach, they will go and get somebody who is actually still a really good coach. We've gone and got Carrick, and look, this is not against Carrick, but he's not best in class. He failed in the Championship. Like, this is ridiculous. And you've got a manager, you've got this failed coach in a Wilcox who's going to the players and saying that it's so important to get an interim guy in. Why? Look, why aren't you saying to these players, you have let this club down again? You know, we have to get an interim in because you guys have failed. We failed. You know, Wilcox, and many people do not agree with this, but this is what they do in the Bundesliga. Wilcox should be out there front and centre. If he's a frustrated manager, get your arse out there and you do the media. But no, he'd rather chuck a Fletcher at. Jason Wilcox passes the buck. Jason Wilcox would rather throw his granny in front of the media than actually answer for what he's done. So he's now gone to the players, and now he's blaming the players. You know, he's setting it up. He's setting up Carrick so he can blame Carrick. He's setting up to the players that he has set tasks for these players to achieve, this manager to achieve. Give him players then, you absolute fucking moron. Give this guy players. You didn't give Amarin players. And for those who think that they're going to give him players, they might give a single play, but they weren't going to buy players for an Amarin. You know, why are they going to give players to this interim coach that Wilcox thinks that the interim coach is so important? And I don't care what anybody says, it's our third coach of the season. It is an interim to the interim, and to this club, it's so short-minded. We Chelsea, I will say this again, for whatever you think about the coach, Chelsea went and got a coach. That is big. That is big club thinking. Madrid would go and get a coach. Now, Liverpool haven't sacked the coach because they know if they sack a coach, it's pretty, you know, you were writing off a season. So for this best in class, for this we want to get the fourth, fifth, you're writing off a season. You know, and this is the guy that's been tasked, a failed director of football at Southampton, a failed youth coach, and he's now a frustrated manager. What an absolute embarrassment to this club. And Sir Jim has deemed this guy because he's a yes man. It is baffling. So it's so important to keep the pressure on. And reports are also saying that the reason why he is now trying to throw these people under the bus, because he's getting abuse. And look, I do not agree with abuse. He's getting critiqued. You know, the pressure is on him. He's now knows what it's like to, because he never knew this before, what it's like to be part of this club. The eyes are on you. The eyes are on you. And he cannot deal with that. So let me get through the chat before I go through some more stuff. So guys, I have missed some of this chat. Let me go through it all. Let's have a little look. Okay, I'll let you go through the bin dip a bit. I wouldn't say we are the new Everton just yet. Henderson says, setting an objective to come forth is setting Carrick up to fail deliberately. They don't want another Ollie debacle. And look, they are setting him up. This is about how can Ineos, how can Jason Wilcox, and look, this is not just him. This is Omar Barada, who has no idea either. We've got clowns in charge. These two pricks are basically trying to put as much cannon fodder between the two, because at the end of the day, Carrick is basically like a disposable cup. They've got somebody to blame. Again, he's a patsy. Somebody to blame, somebody who's not going to come out against the club, and they can dispose of him. They can basically say at the end of the season, well, we tasked him. Carrick couldn't produce. See you later, Carrick. It's blame shifting. It is accountability. How did this club shift accountability? And they shift it onto the manager, and they shift it onto the players. They've never been willing to accept responsibility, and it is deliberately, it is deliberate. It is deliberate setting up a manager to fail. Scott says Semenyo's has hit the ground. And look, this is why, Scott, as you know on here, we did a Semenyo video and an update. That's all we did. We would never buying into the transfer. We said earlier that Semenyo was never going to come, and he's proven right, isn't he? Semenyo, not only did Semenyo prove that he's an elite player, in his final game for Bournemouth, he scored a goal. Came into City, they won 10-1. And then he's going to score again. These are the players. These are the players that were promised. These are the players that we should be getting. And these are the players that won't come. It is despicable. So look, we're saying United's problems run deeper than just the managerial changes. And you're right. You never shone. 100% right. 100% right. This is, and again, I know this is boring. I will do a review of the City game as well. But this stuff, Wilcox is the gift that keeps on giving. We've got to report this stuff because the eyes have to be on it. But look, I will be doing a City overview as well. It's gonna be shocking. Nobody says I do. Sky says I do think we will get results against City and possibly Arsenal, but then lose to West Ham. I don't see how. This league is ridiculously competitive. I do not see any joy at an Arsenal. Will Arsenal? The only way that I can see us getting some joy out of City and Arsenal is basically if the pressure gets too much to them. We are not United that we can bounce and beat these teams. City are going to have a field day. Arsenal are going to have a field day. I just don't. And look, I'd look. Just because I can't stand this club, just because I can't stand these players, doesn't mean I don't want these guys to win. Doesn't mean I don't want Carrick to succeed. If we finish fifth, it will be in despite of this club. It will be in despite of Wilcox because they've done everything to sabotage the season. So even if we get fifth, right, I will not change my stance. These players have to go. It will be pure luck. These players have to go. Wilcox has to go. And just because we get fifth, you need to then build on that. You need to then build on, we should be getting a director of football and a CEO who are vastly experienced in big clubs, who've got at least 6 to 10 years experience. Not the fucking T-boy, not Wilcox the T-boy, not the COO of a City who basically was just an underling, was just walking around like, what the fuck do I do? Like, we need the best in class. And if we get into fifth spot, some of these players still need to go. Jason Wilcox still needs to go. And you need to build a proper best in class, because these are not best in class. We will get beat off City and beat Arsenal and draw at West Ham. We will lose to City and Arsenal, says Ryan. Wilcox is Ronald McDonald in disguise. You watch, we'll do a spectacular against Arsenal and win against City. And look, guys, I just have to say this. Look, whilst I respect the comments and look, I do hope I'm wrong, but are we having a reset? Are we having a mind reset again? What makes you and look, this is what I'm going to ask you guys. Why do you think that we're going to beat City? I no longer buy this bounce. I no longer buy that that you can beat anybody on their day. If you look at the results, what makes you guys think? And again, this is just a question. What makes you think that we're going to beat City? Is it just hope? Is it just based on previous experiences that that we should beat them. We need a bit of reality here, because if we think we're going to beat City and we lose, that's another disappointment. The Brighton game, that tells you everything you need to know. Now, look, City did play last night. So, look, we do tend to fare better against teams who are tired. Are City going to be tired? I don't know. Can we get a result? Anything's possible. But look, my mind is not a reset. We lost to Villa. I know Villa at home. I don't care. Villa at home. Burnley, a draw at Burnley. Brighton spanked us up. What? And this is a question. What makes you think, other than just going, we are united, there's a chance? What makes you think, in an actuality, that we're going to go to the two best teams in the league, or City are going to come to us and we're going to beat them? What makes you think that we're going to go to Arsenal? They've now got a full contingent of squad. I'm just interested in why this community and why you think that we can beat these teams, when if you look at these results, we played literally and this is no disrespect, and they might say the same to us. We had a run of fixtures where they were easier. There are no easy games in this league, but we failed. So I'm just interested as to why, on what basis are we going to beat City and Arsenal? Honestly, I can't believe just how bad you guys are. You never progress with players like Yoro, Ugarte, Casemiro, Dalot, Shaw, and Martinez. I will take out Yoro in that. I don't think that's fair. I'll take out a Martinez as well, but anything else is I do agree with you. I said that yesterday, and we will get on to the Southgate links. Look, if you've watched this channel before, I've done a video, and I've said if Amrin gets sacked, Southgate will be the man. Doesn't mean that is the case. But if you watch the video, there's a video that I've done on this channel. It is there. Check it out. I've gone into it. Why Southgate, I think, will be the coach. Rather nobody. Well, I mean, it's his name. If Southgate gets the permanent job, I don't know what I'll do. If Southgate gets the job, I will go against, and I'll be a massive hypocrite. I will want him out. I will be Southgate out straight away. Southgate will have to convince me. Southgate will have to convince me. Can you imagine this? Imagine this. A dream team of Steve Holland, Jonathan Woodgate, Southgate, Wilcox, Omar Barada. Forget it. Game over. Game over. It will be game over. It will be game over. It will be Ineos, the Glazers, Barada, basically trying to get mid-table. It will be disastrous. The timing is so they get views and news coverage. They know they can't affect anything. Amrin couldn't. He had the strongest arguments and access. I'm seeing Klopp as a possibility for the Madrid job. Southgate comes in, and then I'm supporting Salford, says Ryan. Not being snide, but the most recent managers will want to put under the amount of pressure, want instant success and expected. Wishful, I know, but would you? Klopp is not for me. Same as Alonso. I personally not have him either. I would rather Alonso. Look, I know Alonso is a Liverpool player, but I would rather Alonso. Look, I know he's a Liverpool ex-player, but actually Alonso for me, I think Alonso's played for enough different clubs and he hasn't managed them. I would take Alonso. So Sebastian says, so Carrick will get better results than Amrin, and it's costing 12 million to do this. And Sebastian, agree with you completely. This is the short sight. This is how you know. This is how you know the comments that have come out in the media are true. that Wilcox was involved in hiring this coach. Wilcox then told him he needs to play back four. He's described himself as a manager behind the scenes. And Amorim was sacked because he spoke out. There is nothing else. Do not be fooled, and this community is not fooled. Do not be fooled that this manager was sacked because of this disgusting board, because Wilcox has a delusion of a grandeur that he thinks that he's better than Amorim. He thinks that he knows. Who the fuck is Jason Wilcox? The more I talk about it, the more, right now I actually really dislike these players, but Wilcox for me is the personification of everything I didn't want to have, of everything when we brought in the best in class, and these Sir Jimites, these Ineos supporters that said this is a pathway to Sir Jim owning the club, he's going to put the best in class. Rio Ferdinand, again, Friends FC, did a video about how Wilcox is a great guy, he's an honest guy, he's going to come in. I'm enthused by the vision. Rio Ferdinand, who's getting paid in the club. This is what our problem is. And yeah, you're right. Amorim shouldn't have been sacked, but Amorim was sacked. Look, Amorim knew what he was doing. I listened to Paul Scholes and Nicky Butt, right? Still Friends FC. They were right. Amorim did this on purpose. Amorim wanted the sack. And I don't blame him. What else are we saying? Ryan says, I think we need to look past the rivalries when it comes to the managers. Neon is your favourite colour. John O'Connor says, hi, hello, John. You will get Southgate income, and I think, what's your opinion on Carrick? Look, I like Carrick. I liked him as a player, but Carrick is a pawn. And I don't mean, that. I mean, Carrick is a pawn in terms of like a chess game. He's being used as a pawn. Carrick is not best in class. I don't care what anybody says. Carrick is not the best in class. A Borough failed coach who everybody, for whatever reason, seems to be saying that Carrick is this amazing coach. He finished fourth in the championship. He did some good things. If you listen to Rio again, he's saying that, he did some amazing things. He got a tune out of these players. He did some good things. He finished 14th. The guy got sacked. Like, this is not an aspersion of Carrick as a player. Carrick as a player was a legend, but his friends, Michael Carrick's friends, and this community, and not this community, but this fan base is, we get in the next manager, we get in the next ex-player, and they're going to be the next big thing. We've been so spun around that we're celebrating, and one of the things that baffles me, right, and it gets mentioned on here a lot, and I apologise to the subscribers if this is something that you said yourselves, right? This fan base is so low, and so wanting for a positive. One of the biggest things on people's minds is, can we win 5 games in a row? Not because 5 games in a row will mean that we've turned a corner, will mean that we've got points on the board. They want 15 games in a row so some prick can cut his hair. I mean, when are we not going to be a banter club? Like, I don't give a fucking shit if this guy cuts his hair or not. I don't care. This is how pathetic that we have become. We care more about 5 games on the trot and when some prick is going to cut his hair rather than not. Who gives a shit? Like, this is how much of a banter club that we have become, is that we care more about somebody cutting their hair than winning 5 games. I mean, you watch the celebration, you watch the YouTube clips, you watch the stuff when we win 5 games in a row, and this guy is going to cut his hair. fuck off. Literally, fuck off. Because this is what is wrong with this club. This is everything that is wrong. This is by proxy the positive spin that United want. Can you imagine the 5 wins? The players it wouldn't surprise me if the club invited that guy who needs to cut his hair down to the club. They'll make a big show of it, a big deal. That is what we've become. That is what we've become. Was so low and such a circus that we care about some guy cutting his hair. I'm sorry if you guys, I've mentioned this before. This is not a dig at the community. This is how I personally feel. If Carrick gets us into the Champions League, then what? He can piss off. I don't care. He can piss off. Get rid of that shirt up top. Tiny Jones, no. Nope. Go qualify for the Champions League. Told to Carrick. Exactly. So this is him. This is him throwing Carrick underneath the bus. I forget Southgate. I'm done. Bobby says hello, Bobby. That's smart, isn't it? Aren't we getting a new midfielder? No. There is no plans to get a midfielder. There is no plans to get a midfielder. I've said this all season, and I will keep repeating this because this community has said it as well. I've been told this. I've been told this since November, October. United do not plan on making a signing. They will only do one loan or a cheap deal. Xerxes will not go now. Mainu will not go now. They will either do a pressurised, really, really cheap deal. Ruben Neves is doing the rounds, right? Because he's 15 to 20 million, right? United want that out there. Whether they not do that deal, that fits into what I've been told. That fits into completely what I've been told. A really cheap or a loan deal. The only way they're going to do that is if there's pressure. Look, if we get spanked by City and then an Arsenal, you watch, we will sign somebody. Because this fan base will be absolutely in awe. If we lose by more than 3 to City, if we get absolutely annihilated, then you watch. They will scramble. They will scramble. If Carrick got you Champions League, it will be another Di Matteo. I want him gone. I don't want a Carrick. I don't want him. DJ says, "Hang on, bro. Ex-players have made some great managers. Give the lad a chance." Look, I respect that, DJ. Look, mate. I respect you. I respect the comments. No. Ex-players do make a good coach. What ex-players from this club has been a good coach? I have no other look. I will give Carrick a chance. But this is my point about United. This is my point about this fan base. Give them a chance. Give Fletcher a chance. Give Ollie a chance. Give it Giggsy. Like, when are we going to learn? Carrick. It's not as if Carrick went to a Premier League team. It's not as if Carrick went abroad. It's not as if Carrick was at a Bayern Munich. If you look at ex-players, you've got an Alonso, was doing extremely well. You've got Company, who was doing well. Carrick is not that guy. Look, when I say I'll give him a chance, look, I do not blame him at all. He can lose 10-0, 18-0. This is not on him. I will more than happily give him a chance. This is not on him. I don't want Carrick. I don't want Ollie. I want best in class. I want proven. Carrick is not proven. And this is the problem. This fan base is just so reticent to... It's been so in tuned to not having best in class. Like, for example, and again, this is just my opinion, and I'm not calling anyone out here, a lot of the comments I see or get is, well, we've got to have him because there's no manager available, so we've got to wait. No, we are United, and I don't say that in an arrogant way. When you're a big fish, when you're one of the biggest fish, as we're told we are, and we are, go and get the manager. I don't care if Emery doesn't want to come, or Emery wants to come, but Villa do not want to sell. Go and lay down a bunch of money and tell Emery, look, we are serious about this project. You show him the money, you become this club who is best in class. You basically go to Villa and say, you're going to have to find another coach because we are going to unsettle him and we're going to pay you a fair price. You go to a Newcastle and you say to Howe, look, Howe, we want you to come. This is what's going to happen. We will literally sign you a team. We don't act like that. And as a club, we just go, yeah, all right, fuck it. Yeah, all right, fuck it. We'll just accept it. We'll just accept it. We will get bent over. We fully accept it that an interim manager is in charge. Because this footballing side knows better than us. And we just accept it. I don't accept it. I don't accept it. There is no reason why we can't go get these. There is no reason. And look, people will say no good coach will come to you. I get that. I get it completely. But all Ineos have to do right now is just change. Can't stand them. I want them out. But if the Glazers and Ineos decided to clear the debt, buy players, they could start to rebuild the trust. But they don't. So look, I'm not opposed to people who want ex-players. I've got no issue with that. It's not for me. We will win at the derby. Griffins, why? I'm going to keep asking this question. Why? Why are we going to win the derby? Why? Is it just because the derby is a different game? Burnley, Brighton, West Ham, Everton, Spurs, Villa. Why are we going to win the game? Let's use our noodle here. Why are we going to win it? What? Because Ollie won it. Because Ollie won it 3 times. Ollie had a better squad. Why are we going to win this game? And look, you guys could be right. I'm not saying that we are not going to win. I want to know why we're going to win the derby. Terry Jones says, I remember growing up in the 90s when we were forced, and now they look like a mid-table team. Tony Jones, I remember it completely, mate. I've been supporting this club since 1988. And I remember the 90s. I remember the Premier League starting. I was there. And this club is night and day. Look, even in the early thousands, you can go back to that. This team is not even a patch on the 2013 team. We are run like Ronald McDonald and the Hamburglar. This much money spent. How can we get to this? Even last match was horrible to watch. Commentary keeps on praising the Brighton manager. It's embarrassing. This is not like you. Why are you so negative to Carrick? Look, this is not Carrick's fault. I'm not negative to Carrick. This is not a smite on him, right? Bring any guy in, and I will support him, right? But Carrick is not the best in class. Like, I am not going to back him for the full-time job. I will back him, but what am I backing? Like, what am I backing? This team under Ten Hag, this team under an Ambrin playing one game a week What is Carrick going to do to this team that is going to make them better? They talk about confidence time and time again. My confidence is shot. It's such a bad thing. What's Carrick going to do? This is the bit that I don't get, and it makes me so frustrated at times. Is now you've seen this record before. We've seen this before. We've seen Ollie, Ranić, Amarin. We've seen a back three. We've seen a back four. We've seen the Brighton game. We've seen the Grimsby game. We've seen the Burnley game, the Spurs game, the Forest game. It doesn't matter. I'm not negative about Carrick. This is not about Carrick. This is about the neglect of this team. Why aren't we going to get the best in class? Look, I don't care what anybody says. Carrick is not the best in class. Why are we so obsessed with this mediocrity? Why are we so obsessed with, people were saying give Fletcher a chance. What was Fletcher supposed to do? Even Fletcher knows that this team is shit. Carrick knows this team is shit. This is not about him. I will protect Carrick all season. I will now protect him because this is not his fault. This is nothing to do with him. Whether he does well or not, Carrick will need to go. He's not the best in class. Arsenal will crumble under pressure. I'd like to hope we can beat them, especially Arsenal. They have massive egos. Yes, the top of the league, but I doubt they'll win it. I'd love to beat Arsenal alone. Remember, JB, Arsenal love a good second place. Big Gooner says, what's become of United? Talking about fifth, like it's achievement. Big Gooner, AJ, I agree with you. Agree with you completely. I keep saying I demand this club finish first every season. I demand we get into the Champions League, not because I'm stupid, because we've got to keep these standards up. Our standards under Ineos, the Glazers, and fucking Wilcox is fifth. That is our standard. Our standard is now fifth. I know if we get into the Europa League, they will celebrate it. This fan base will be, we're back in to Europe. These are the standards now. These are the standards. DJ said, when we beat Liverpool at Anfield and ruined their home run in, quite hopeful we'll do the same at City and Arsenal. Liverpool. Let's not pretend that we went to an Anfield and were brilliant. Let's not pretend that we went to Anfield and we spanked them up. We didn't. We were hanging on in there. Look, as a performance, fantastic. I thought we turned a corner. We didn't. Let's not pretend that we went to Anfield and we bossed it. We didn't. We didn't boss it. Like this is the most frustrating thing. And then don't forget, Liverpool were on an horrendous run. Liverpool were on an absolutely horrendous run. We were playing one game a week. They were playing in the Champions League. I'm not taking the win away. It was a fantastic win. But let's not pretend that it was the best game. The best game I've seen us play this season was Arsenal. That's it. Fifth is a big achievement from 15th loss. And I do agree. Look, if we finish in the top 8, we were 15th last season. We were 15th last season. Fifth would be an overachievement. And I think that Ten Hag should get a big pat on the back from that. Chelsea drew to City. So there's hope. Look, I'm not saying that we can't beat them. This league is ridiculously competitive. But all I'm saying is that our first comments are this. We're going to beat City. Or we're going to beat Arsenal. We look stupid, right? I'm just asking for a logical perspective as to why we're going to beat City. Look, it doesn't mean to say that we're not. I want us to win. I don't care about the players. I want us to win the game. And when we're watching the game and playing the game, I want us to win. I don't know how Carrick is going to get these players up to play for that game. What is Carrick going to do? And look, and if Carrick manages to get this team up to win this match, fantastic. Carrick this season is protected to me. I will be supporting him for me this season. I will be celebrating for him and for the fans. Who's going to win the first leg tonight, Chelsea or Arsenal, says Stephen Moore. I think Arsenal will win it. I do. If we finish fifth, considering what happened last season, it would be a fantastic achievement. But it goes to show how far our standards have fallen. I can't see us beating City. I hope I'm wrong. And look, I hope that I'm wrong. I do not revel in I can't predict these games. I can't look, I would be lying to say if I think City are just going to beat us. Because I don't know. It would be easier for me if I could just say to you guys, we're going to lose. But I can't even do that because I don't know what this team is going to do. The more we have less games, the more we get fatigued. How come? I don't know. Rather City win. Least it's coming back to United. I just hope Chelsea wear Arsenal out so they'd be tired. It's because of Delo. I'm not betting girl, especially on other teams. I can't remember the last time United bet actually they won me anything. Not for me. I know more City fans than Arsenal. In fact, I don't know any Arsenal fans apart from on Twitter. Last time I had a bet, I won 150 on two grid. That's good. Done that. I don't want an ex-Liverpool legend. Scott McTominay can't believe we sold him. He's on fire. Alonso has it Liverpool in his veins, so not for me. I miss McTominay. Nobody's so there you go. Now, what is Wilcox, or is it Wilcox? The job title. If they replace him, there'll be another in that role. No, Henderson. It is Wilcox. It is Wilcox's ego. Wilcox has said behind the scenes that he is a frustrated manager. The problem that we've got, as we are is that we hired a coach who plays a completely different way, right? If we had a director of football in this club who had been to a Real Madrid, who had been in his job for 10 years and he'd proven that he is good at supporting the manager. It is not Jason Wilcox's job to decide the formation. It is not his job to tell our coach that he's a frustrated manager and he should go to a back four. Then he should have hired a back four coach. It is not Wilcox's position, particularly when he's not experienced. What the F does he know about managing this club? It is Wilcox's ego. It is Barada who is allowing this to happen. So it is the football structure, but Wilcox needs to back off. It is not his job. It's not his job to coach this team. It is his job to provide support. It is his job to basically be the conduit between the manager, the players, and what they want to do. This club either needs to allow a manager to dictate the play, or this club needs to say, this is how we want to play. You are a coach. I want you to come in and these are the criteria that I need you to fill for me. You have to have a youth team player on the bench or playing. Doesn't mean to say that you got to force the manager to play a player, but these are our core, our values. We play a back four. We expect wingers. We expect exciting games.
and we want a youth player on our bench, and we expect a top 4. There is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong in being clearly defined as to what you want, and then you go and get a coach and say, these are our values. If you want to work in this club, these are our values. And then you buy and place, and you let the coach manage. You let him manage, you let him pick the squad, and then if he doesn't conform, then he goes, right? But you at least need a competent director of football who's proven it. If you've got a director of football who's been at Madrid or a Barcelona or a Bayern and they've won things, you tend to listen more. But Wilcox has done nothing. Have a little look. I think a DM reporter mentioned briefly what is the point of a director of football. Wilcox is a cock wobbler. He's never ever going to take the blame for the problems until this board and owners are gone. United are nothing. Shrewd is better than Carrick. Gon says, can't wait for Southgate to get us to the FA Cup final next year and bottle it. January window is still open, by the way. Exactly. Gary Neville as the manager. Aaron was never going to be the man to take us to the top. He orchestrated his own sacking because he knew the board failed him. Gary, who cares about haircut twat? I hope it never happens. David Beckham. David Beckham is not a coach, mate. Henderson says, couldn't care less about the lad's hair. Good. Let's get through these chats. I keep going through these chats. Mr. Gowan says, what's happened? I'll let you guys fill him in. We respect Carrick, but it's not him. I don't respect Carra. I think Carra is an absolute waste of space. Carrick is on the road to nowhere. Look, and look, this is never an agenda about a manager. I have sympathy for managers in this club. We'll win the Derby 2-1. Alonso should have been the next manager, not Michael Carrick, says Falco. If Southgate is appointed, I'm switching to marbles. It must be wonderful in your house on match day derbies. Carrick, folks, Carrick is shit. Got sacked at Borough. Look, respect the opinion. I personally, for me, I would rephrase that for me, and I would say Carrick is not best in class. He's just not. Kerry Matt says the fans are to blame. They don't support the club in bad times, just negative all the time. Kerry, you're gone. I will never have fans being blamed. Kerry, you're gone. Forget best in class. United are about setting the bar. I've always loved Danny as a player. When we went to Arsenal, he was played with injuries. United got so bad, even looked like you lost worlds. Carrick, E4, chess terms. Big up, JB. Big up to Danny. When we score on Saturday, I hope they pick up the ball and throw it at Haaland. My son will hate it, but will make us happy. I like that a lot. Not even 10 likes. The Glazer family, they must be watching. Exactly. Give us a like. Just a like on the videos. Thank you. Thank you, Sebi. Thank you. Appreciate it. Amian says, hi, hello. What is the Carrick formation? 4-3-2-1. A combination of a 4-3. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Back now. Let's have a little look. Pochettino is a USA coach. That's not for me. Sky, thank you. The beginner says no top manager is going to take the job to be told what to do by a Wilcox. Chippy Chump says you need to get rid of toxic United. No, we do. But look, I will never blame the fans. It is not the fans. There are some fans who are toxic more than others, but the majority of us fans are just so frustrated. Damon says we need people who know and understand their roles, not people chasing their tails. Yeah, but we are hoping that Carrick could become a company. DJ, mate, I hope and pray, but I'm not thinking along those lines. I'm not, mate. I just don't buy it, mate. I just don't buy it. Wilcox is a cock. I do agree with that. I do not like Ed. I do like Eddie. Would be interesting if he had the time to help him grow. Boycott and protest the ownership. And look, so Red or Dead. Look, I am in support of that. I did a video and said, look, you've got to support the protests. The puzzling thing for me is I don't understand why channels are not promoting this more. I don't understand why the 1958 or why the protest planners are doing this after the window closed. I'm starting to wonder if this is a working with United to put up this is when we're going to protest. Can you protest after the transfer window? Why aren't the protests happening now? Why aren't the protests happening? Imagine a protest before the City game. Why isn't there a protest before the City game? And when I say a boycott, those who want to boycott the game, do it. Right? Those who don't, that's fine. Fans should not stop people from going into the ground. I don't agree with that. But how you can stop people from going into the ground is thousands and thousands of people lining up. So you make it impossible for people to go to the ground. That is what you do. There is no violence. There is no hate. What you do before, and this is why I am baffled and I don't understand this. City, we've known that this is one of the biggest games of the season. Why do you not protest before that game? How you get that game stopped? Thousands and thousands of people march. Thousands and thousands of people congregate outside the ground, and you physically make it unsafe, so the police have to call it off. There are so many things that get called off purely peaceful protests. If there are more numbers, the police have to call the game off because it's unsafe. You don't have to be unsafe in terms of, you don't have to be violent, don't have to be rude. You can just march, you can have placards, you can be very, very peaceful. But by sheer weight of numbers, that's how you get the games called off. It is, and that's what I don't get. It is so simple. If you get Manchester, if you get Salford, if you get that part closed down because people are marching, the police will have to be there. The club will know. Imagine, right? City match day, right? Imagine this. Because Barada is going to be in the ground, Wilcox is going to be in the ground, Sir Jim is going to be in the ground. Imagine if you're those people, you're already in that ground and you hear singing, you hear a rumble of feet, you hear this noise getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you have swathes of United fans, peaceful protest, peacefully, by sheer numbers marching on that ground, and just by sheer numbers standing there, the police will call the game off. I will never incite and never agree with physicality. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is numbers. It is a numbers game. And I don't know why before this game, I don't get it. Why the protest groups are not protesting before this game. Make it make sense. Rob James says, what happened to Ollie? Glad I didn't take your tip. No, Tuchel does well at the World Cup. So look, Rob, basically, mate, Ollie was the favourite. I'm not going to say that my insight was wrong. I'm not going to say that the information that I got given was wrong. It wasn't wrong. Ollie was the favourite up until Saturday. And then what happened was basically throughout the whole week, people were talking about Ollie. People were talking about it's embarrassing how they paid him off. And now they're going to rehire him. He was the man. And they changed it round because they wanted somebody to come in. It was clean and easy. There was too much noise around Ollie. Ollie was the guy. Ollie was making preparations. But it transpired that it was going to be too much noise. It's going to be too much noise. The certain people that wanted a Carrick in, they won the game. They won the day. Up until Saturday, Ollie was the guy. And then because of the noise, because of the visual of it, they were getting criticised left, right, and centre. They pivoted to Carrick. Simple as that, mate. Simple as that. Scott's Benja's in the chat as well. Hing says, at this point, we need a manager who can play any formation. I'm sick of a 4-3-3. Look, Red or Dead says, Glazers have killed us with the debt and Ineos have meddled with the formation and team. Rio on the Ineos payroll never has a bad word. He is. Vistain says, United is gone. No hope. I can't believe this match is gone. The fans let this season slide. I believe the match is yeah. United is yeah. If Carrick gets them Champions League, be harsh to not giving him the job. No, Rob James, mate. Look, I respect the opinion. I really, really do. And I get it. I don't want Carrick. He's not best in class. I don't want him. We need something that's different. Now, I hope Carrick proves me wrong. I would love Carrick. I would love him to get us into the Champions League, go on some sort of run, get us into the Champions League, and be our coach for the next 25 years, right? When are we going to learn a lesson? When are we going to learn a lesson? The only way to rid ourselves of the owners is to shut everything down, stop funding our demise. The manager who statistically reduces failure modes is Roberto De Zerbi, so he's statistically the best fit and would improve the team immensely and will likely not be approached at all. Look, my only comment on this whole thing, we're talking about Tuchel, we're talking about De Zerbi. What are these managers going to do? How do you get the best out of this side? How do you get the best out of a Luke Shaw who's done? How do you get the best out of a Maguire? How do you get the best out of a Casemiro? How do you get the best out of Bruno Fernandes, who's going to be 32 years old? You can't get the best out of declining players. You can't. And I just, it still baffles me why we think that we can get the best out of these players. We need better players. I will be chasing his balls. My previous comment was directed at Wilcox. Barada and Jim says, Damon, what other club would appoint Carrick? We're living in the past and need the best in class. I love Ollie, says football. We need new sporting directors, you need better fans. You're gone. Insult fans and you can piss off. You're gone. What was the other thing I wanted to say? So look, accountability. You know, look. Before I go, look, let's talk about. I wanted to talk briefly about Southgate. Thomas says, "Is Carrick the right choice to be a caretaker, or should it be a permanent manager?" I think, Thomas, I think it really depends on your viewpoint on this, right? We're having a caretaker for a caretaker. In my view, a big club will go and get a coach. Look, I do not buy into this. You know, we've got to wait for a coach until the end of the season. You know, we've, you know, these coaches are not there. Why haven't we gone for a coach? If we're only 3 points behind top 4 or 5, go and get a manager. Go and get the best in class. Those of you who want your managers, go to England and say, I don't care about your World Cup. I don't give a toss. We are taking your manager. Like, it may sound wrong to some people. You go and get him. You say, I don't care if you manage an Aston Villa. You know, yes, they may not, they don't want to come, but you test them. You go to them and you try and you make them come to you. You know, and look, for me, I will not blame Carrick for any of this mess. If we drop down the league and we finish 10th, it's not Carrick's fault. Is Fletcher should have stayed as interim or stick with Carrick? Thomas, in my view, it doesn't matter. You could go and get Mr. Bean. You could go and get the Teletubbies. You can, you know, you could do it, right? It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. Ryan says, Alonso, what happened to our the January signings? If the head coach doesn't pick signings, why no signings? Because Ineos don't have the money. I've said this on this channel since October. We are not going to make any signings in this window. If we do, it will be a loan or a single one, right? Because the Glazers are still in charge and the rhetoric is there is no value in the market. This will continue. This fan base, again, is so... And look, I don't blame the fan base, by the way. We're so in... And I'm exactly the same, by the way. We forget the Glazers are in charge. It is always, there is no value in the market. Do you think Amrin might get a chance to manage Madrid to replace Alonso? Thomas, I would love it. I would absolutely love it for Amrin to go there. I don't think he will, but I would love him to go to Madrid. I would fucking love it. Any news on the tops, JB? Look, yeah, as a Scott, the tops take a little while. They probably won't be here till next week, and then I will send them on. So they'll probably take the turnaround day is 5 days. No, it's not. I reckon they'll be here Monday, and then I will post them to you, and I'll post them next day delivery. So as soon as they come, I'll post them out. Summer there will be lots to choose from. Amrin just didn't realise how big United actually are. Every second of your existence is scrutinised. He can hack it, I think you're saying. Not looking forward to the derby. Neither am I, mate. No, look, I am. Look, I am looking forward to the derby because it's a derby and we've got to beat them. Like, these players shouldn't be scared. Like, I'm not scared. Like, I'm not looking forward to it in terms of I'm scared. But I'm looking forward to it because it is a derby. It should be a fight. These players should care. Best in class is a follower metric. It's like United hierarchy have forgotten about defining success for themselves. Do you know that both Delo and Amrin were actually cousins? Yeah, I think it was a distant cousin. So look, I wanted just to quickly say this. Look, Southgate, for those of you, which defenders will shut down Haaland? Don't know, mate. Delict, Heaven. I don't think Delict's fit, is he? I think we'll play counter attack. I think he'll play defensive, and I think we'll struggle. Who's scoring for us more than once? I don't know, mate. I don't know, mate. Look, if goals are coming from Mbumo, goals are coming from Ahmad. Goals are coming from Shesko. Look, Scott, I would love Heaven. I'd love Heaven to pocket Haaland. I would love it completely. So look, Southgate. All I'm going to say before I go on that is there's a video out there that I said, and I've said this time and time again, is see you later, Sky. I've said this, when Amrin gets sacked, Southgate is going to be the one to come in. I've made a video on it. I hope it's not true. I genuinely hope it's not true. Henderson says, I'm Boomer and Ahmad back for City. Well, they're back in contention. They're back in the squad. The presser will be be short. What day is it today? Wednesday. I think the presser will be shortly Thursday, Friday. They're back in contention. Thomas says, if United are looking for new signings in the summer, who's your dream signing? Simon said, agree, JB. I'm 100% no. So am I. I will be Southgate out from the very day that he joins. And look, it almost feels like United are trying to line it up. Steve, look, the fact that Steve Holland is here. Yeah, I'll probably do a live tonight. Should imagine so. Yeah. The fact that Steve Holland is here, be petrified, be scared, be absolutely scared, be petrified, because Steve Holland is Southgate's right-hand man. I would say be scared. If there's a first indication that Southgate is in contention, Steve Holland. And I'm telling you now, be scared, because Steve Holland was his assistant. Look, hopefully this truly is just a short-term deal. But I've said this on this channel multiple times. Go back, it's all there. My biggest fear was a Southgate. If you know who would be your dream signing? The problem is, Thomas, for me, look, my dream signings would be Anderson and a Stiller. We need to get a wing back. I'd probably like you could get Hakimi. I'd like those sorts of players in, but sometimes you dream and dreams do not come true. Rodriguez says no Southgate. Fair. Live tonight, JB. Yes. I heard set to face Wrexham in either Finland or Sweden. Did you hear about that? Yeah, they are looking for. United are looking for games to make some money. Someone says we'll keep dragging Southgate's name in. He's a loser. Never had a hand on the trophy in his life. Southgate, no way. Look, I would keep an eye on it. Saturday could be ugly for us. 7-0 Anfield ugly. I hope not. 250 million quid in transfer fees out on loan. Anthony Sancho, Haaland. Thoughts, JB? It is. Anthony is not on loan, by the way. Anthony is not on loan. Anthony's been sold. It is a failure, Usman. It is an abject failure. And look, Ineos didn't sign these players. And where I will say I don't blame Ineos on this point is that, you know, these players you can't sell these players, right? It is a failure. It is an abject failure on this club, on the Glazers, that these players were signed. Sancho is going to go on a free, by the way. Anthony went for a pittance, and Højlund could be going for a decent price. It is disgusting. It is a failure, an abject failure on this club that Sancho is going on a free. It's an abject failure on this club that Anthony was bought for 85 million quid. I mean, that is unfathomable to me. It's a look, Højlund. You could argue that's a failure, but if you break even and or make some money on him, you know, yeah. How did Carrick get involved with Holland's Southgate assistant? Exactly. Oh, here we go. User, you're gone. Absolute pussy. If Southgate got the job, then I dread it every game. DJ, not a clue, but it's getting set up for him. Why try? We can try Vitinho, Camavinga, too many. And Anderson, Vitinho will never come. Camavinga, I don't know. Too many, possibly. And Anderson, look, the problem with me is if Real Madrid want to sell a Camavinga, I don't want to buy him. I want to buy the players that Real Madrid don't want to sell. Sandra had to leave in the permanent. I'm not sure Rashford and Nana had to leave permanently, in my opinion. Sancho needs to go. We should get Arteta. Leave Elliot Anderson. He's not leaving Forest. He's not at all. Our club is run by Laurel and Hardy. They would pick any loser to run the club. Southgate and Titanic share one thing, both disasters. Disconnect says, what do you think the Galatasaray versus City match will be? Like, who will win? City. Simple as. City. Scott says, in the summer we'll get Baleba and Neves, one centre back, and Nabil window done. Scott, I don't think you're wrong there. I miss Rooney, Van Persie, Fellaini, Nani, Young, Valencia, De Gea. There's the best players that aren't. I mean, Rooney is a brilliant, and Cristiano. Look, Fellaini, not for me, my friend. I can tell, Thomas, you're a person of a certain age. Look, when we're talking about teams, you know, you got Schmeichel, Parker, Pallister, Bruce, Ince, Keane, McClare, Cantona, Hughes, Andy Cole, York, Sheringham, Berbatov, Van Nistelrooy, Ferdinand, Vidic is in there as well. Carrick. I mean, look, you know, do you reckon there's a path back for a Greenwood? How would the fans feel about it? Look, I respect the comment. Not for me. There is no path back for him. There is no path. There is no path. Ineos didn't sign. Sure, he's still at the club, even though he's not been bad, not winning a Prem. Luke Shaw is not for me. Since the Premier League inception, the title has never been won by an Englishman. Arteta, 5 years plus, would give him Rubin, Robson, Wes Brown. There's only one players since Fergie left come up to that standard. Is Bruno, Zlatan, and CR. We need football philosophy. Look, we can't get back to the Fergie days. They've gone, sadly. Sorry says Bowen. Look, Bowen for me is one of those signings that Fergie would make, right? I like Bowen. Look, would Bowen be one of those superstar players? And I think he's getting older now. Bowen for me would be an interesting option, but look, you know, it would be an expensive option. I want to pay full price for Bowen. He's one of those players that I think would be a very, very shrewd move. If you could get him at a good price, he would be a very, very shrewd move. I'd take him. If you can play at West Ham and he shows that bite, I think he's very, very, very clever. I would take him. I would, and not because I just think he would add to that squad depth. I think Bowen at a good price would be a very, very shrewd move. We'll sign a Branthwaite from Everton. Look, he's always been on the cards. I don't know. I don't know. I would love to have Welbeck back instead. Look, Welbeck for me would be a very, very astute signing. I think I would have him there. Look, if you have him there, he could teach Shesko. He could learn so much from a Shesko. It would be ridiculous. So he would teach Shesko so much. Welbeck for me would be a player that I would bring back. I would have brought him back. Let's have a little look what we're saying. So Damien says Bowen isn't good enough like Conor Gallagher. We need the best 23, 34-year-olds like City when they got Aguero, Yara and Torre. Again, whilst I don't disagree, we can't run before we walk. Gallagher, look, I know he's not a fashionable signing, but I think what people forget is we don't even have a base. I'd love a Silva and Aguero, a Yaya, but we're not that club yet. We want a single signing. We want an Anderson. If you just sign an Anderson, what the fuck's he going to do? We need the Gallaghers of this world. We need a Bowen. We need these smart players. And I know they're not fashionable, but you bring those guys in as well as an Anderson, you will see the dividends being paid off. Van der Ven, Scott, absolutely. Van der Ven, for me, I would take him all day long. Van der Ven, for me, would be the one that I would take. The type of players City, Liverpool and Arsenal sign would never come to United. United at the moment play like my old record box. I play a hit, no one dances. Time to get some new records. United will keep a Nana, Rashford and Sancho for the summer's friendlies, or they will leave permanently. Rashford, I think Rashford is one of those tricky ones. Will Rashford come back? The jury is out on that, potentially. But bridges could have been burnt. I don't know. Sancho's gone. Anana, will he come back? Potentially. But I think he'll go back out on loan. Welbeck would have been a legend like Ollie as a super sub. United Don says Branthwaite and Bowen can both stay at their respective clubs. For me, with all the respect, we need a central midfielder, fullback and striker, and not a winger, and a centre back. Yeah, look, Bowen as a hypothetical signing that you bring into the club for a little bit of experience. But United Don, you're right. You've got to have better players first. I would agree with you on Bowen, and Lucas Paquetá would also be rather interesting. Ruben Neves, I would take him all day. The Glazers out. Having an Onana back would make what's left of my hair fall out. And mine, Neves would be a good option, but not good enough for the long term. Roy, look, I agree with you. We need a squad. We need a squad base. These players. Look, every team needs a squad player. You look at a Liverpool. They got that. What's his name? That Italian winger, right? Good squad player. They had Henderson for years. Good squad player. And Milner for years. Fantastic squad player. These are the players that we need. Elliot or Baleba. Elliot, but Baleba will come. I want 6 to 8, 7 million signings, not waste money on a few. Yeah, but that's not going to happen, buddy. Do you think having Fergie hanging around has a positive effect on the club? Fergie will have an impact on this club whether he's physically at the ground or not. These ex-players all refer to him as the boss. Ferguson is impact. Fergie could sit in his house, right? It doesn't matter where he goes, even after Fergie, God forbid, passes away, his impact is still going to be here. Still going to be here. Rory says Ben White. And again, let's just say if Ben White wins a Premier League, right? People are not going to like the signing. But we've always signed a David May, a Ronnie Johnson, a Blanc, those sorts of players. We had Wes Brown for a long time. I'm not saying that Ben White is the most amazing player, but experience. Trossard, again, I think Trossard will be one of the signings who'd be a squad player. Would you look at Thiago from Brentford? And again, these are the sorts of smart players that I think that you would have to look at. But as somebody said there, they've got to be at the right price to bring in a player. United wage structure is messed up. I believe we need 2 defensive sixes. Sayed, I don't think that's I think that's a good point. Is Heaton to retire in the summer? I believe he is. Igor is on fire. I take him all day. Who would make the biggest difference for United out of these transfers? Rice or Haaland? I think Rice would. Thiago, I think he would definitely be on. Are you fearful or excited about the City game? I'm excited. I'm not scared of the City game. I am excited. We should be excited. It should be nervous. It should be full of drama. I'm excited. I think we get beat off 3-2 when we beat Arsenal. I'm not looking forward to Saturday, Reds. I'm going now, lads. Remember what we did to Liverpool at Anfield. DJ has a very, very, very good point. Thomas says 60 people are watching. I like Sadiki at Spurs. Our day on we can. I do agree. We shouldn't be making too many signings until we have a manager. I semi-agree with that, and I don't, because if we don't make signings, I don't know if we're going to make top 5. We need to get rid of the high earners. Yes, we do. Maguire, Casemiro, Sancho. Those guys will go. Team needs restructuring. I do agree with you. Openda, if you've heard of him. Yes, I have. Do you think Mainoo will finally get back into the starting lineup? Yes, I do. I think Mainoo will look. We have company men in charge. Mainoo is going to get into this squad again. He's on fire because he was before, said Kevin. Before Grealish went to an Everton, would you sign him? No, because he's a City player. If he'd played for a different side, I would have considered it. Bruno will be on fire for Carrick. City and Arsenal are the types of games we will turn up for the likes of Fulham. Brentford is where we struggle. It's talk of a stadium just to keep the fans distracted. Yes, I agree with you. If you were Carrick, what would your formation and game plan be for City? Try and sneak on 14 players. I would go with the players that I've got. I would go. I'd do an Ollie. I'd play deep, and I would go on the counter attack. What are you going to say about the players who left United are now playing actively in the various teams? Why do we let Scott McTominay go? Look, we were. Look, the reason why players leave and get and do better or perceive to do better is because we know this club's toxic. We know. Carrick would be delighted. He finally gets to play Bruno behind the 9. Having the best 10 in the world will help. Or we'll see. Kevin, that's your opinion. What do you think about Xavi Simmons? Worth, or as he run his course? Not for me. I don't think he's proved anything yet. But again, as a potential squad player, what's your thoughts on Euro lately? I feel he struggled a bit in these last few games, and feel we need to protect him, especially now we have more experienced defenders from injuries. Yes. Sometimes people forget that Euro is still young. People think he's 25 years old. Young players sometimes take a dip. Euro might not be good enough. Euro, his confidence is on the floor. Euro is a young guy. We need to back him. We need to back this young guy and show that we have his back. 10 league is in the Prem. Let's hope our players are more about this time. Try to put a couple of feet behind them and focus on what Carrick is going to do with this club. So look, guys, amazing comments, amazing show. Look, there's so many different ideas today that are banded around that I love. We all think of football in a different way. Look, I hope that you guys are right when it comes to a City. I would do a review of that game as well. I'll probably do that review tonight, and we can go over what we think. And look, let's be. No, I want to say, you guys, I'm going to be positive. Look, I want Carrick to do well. Let's see what Carrick can do. I'm not giving these players a second chance. I'm not giving these players a way out. It's not a new manager and all is forgiven. No. These players have to play for the manager. I don't care if they win the next 2 games. They are not forgiven. They are not forgiven. They will have to do this until the end of the season, and then we can look at it then. So let's see. Someone says, yeah, you've done. Wingers are not fast enough. I just hope Carrick can handle the dressing room. Hopefully. This says like and subscribe. Look, thank you, buddy. Eze Plummer says, I was born in a United lad, but I'm hating every moment when the team touch the park. Why owners are getting a manager or coaches, then telling them the position to play. Henderson says, thanks for the stream, buddy. No, thank you guys for being here. New strike duo at City now, Haaland and Semenyo, plenty of goals between them. I got a feeling we nick a 2-1 win over City. We can't get carried away with that, and I think we've turned a corner. Let's see. So look, guys, I will be back this evening. Look, you guys are legends. Thank you for being here. Look, this show doesn't exist. This channel doesn't exist without you guys. You guys are legends. I can only thank you so much for being here. Absolutely, yeah. Pivot out. That is the one good thing about this. The pivot's gone. But you guys, look, are absolute legends and fantastic of this channel. You guys are just fantastic. So look, I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. I will be back this evening. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Total legends, and I'll be back in a bit. Take care.